PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holy Snokes on the PLD Products Network. I am your host, PLD. Next to me, of course, is my trusty sidekick, Punch It, Matty.
Punch who?
Or you're supposed to just, hyperspace thing. You take it a different way, of course.
There you go. I just hit punch it. I'm like, who?
That's true.
Just give me a name.
I mean, you are like a Wookiee. I could see you ripping arms out of people's sockets if you lose.
I have been known to do that.
Have been known to do that. Yeah, that's why I'm glad you're on my side. Well, we had another fun night last night in Star Wars universe. 2 bangers of an episode. Of course, this week we are doing what we planned to do. We are going to talk about Mandalorian today, and then tomorrow we'll have a second episode where we'll break down the Bad Batch. I can't wait for both. Both of them are exciting to me. I don't even know which one I like more. I kind of like. It's kind of funny to me that like Mandalorian is such a high priority classic in Star Wars, where Bad Batch seems to be underrated at times, and yet I'm finding myself enjoying Bad Batch just as much as the Mandalorian.
I feel like I'm getting deeper meaning out of the Bad Batch, but I'm getting more joy and excitement out of the Mandalorian. I think I'm getting more woo yeah out of the Mandalorian, whereas Bad Batch I'm getting like oh shit.
To me, it's even hard to say, but I have a hard time picking which one I want to watch first because I enjoy them both so much. We are living in a blessed time. This month is getting double the Star Wars, double the time. But yeah, that's what we're doing this week. But of course, we're gonna drop some news first. Talk about some news, which means tomorrow's episode will probably be shorter because we won't have as much news to talk about unless something drops after the time we record this. Before we go to record tomorrow, we had some big news today. I'm going to save our biggest news, I think, until the end. Let's touch base on. First off, we'll touch base on the article that the controversy, if you will, where Freddie Prinze Jr. went on a podcast and basically said that Dave Filoni had directed the infamous Darth Vader in a hallway scene in Rogue One. Interestingly enough, out of the woodwork came numerous people, not Dave Filoni, interesting, but everyone else came to decry that and said, no, Gareth Edwards directed that. I was on set. I did this, yada, yada, yada. And maybe also there was one person who said Gareth Edwards might have been the second director who did it because Gareth was actually in the sequence, but either way, Gareth oversaw everything regardless. And I found it interesting. But I feel like it was still a lot more surprisingly overblown in Star Wars land. It's amazing.
Horror.
Shocking horror. People are taking things and going, getting way too in-depth over it. Because quite frankly, to me, and I want your opinion on this as well, I kind of feel like there probably was a little bit of game of telephone. I think Freddie Prinze Jr., obviously, as Kanan, has a great relationship with Dave Filoni. He probably talked to Dave Filoni about this sequence. I betting Dave Filoni was probably on set or around the set that day. I bet Dave Filoni probably talked to Gareth Edwards about stuff, about like Darth Vader at the time and everything else, because Dave Filoni is the heir apparent. Lucasfilm, everyone at Lucasfilm knows that Dave Filoni has kind of been the heir apparent to George Lucas, the one who knows Star Wars pretty much the most since George has left. So, of course, Gareth Edwards probably had a conversation with him about it, and maybe Dave Filoni possibly offered some suggestions, or that'd be kind of a cool kind of thing. And Dave Filoni tells Freddie Prinze Jr. about the day, and Dave tells him about some ideas that he had, kind of thing, and just Freddie in his mind said, "Oh, he actually directed that set," and that kind of thing, and says it on the podcast. Everybody blows up. To me, I don't think this is big. This is that big of a deal. I think Freddie Prinze was a little misinformed, and I think that Gareth Edwards probably did take control of this and did have this on, considering everybody else has come out of the woodwork since. And at the end of the day, I think this is pretty much a non-story at this point. What do you think?
I think it's pretty much, I think it's a non-story. Listen, Freddie Prinze Jr. to me is the coolest man alive, and I love hearing him talk. I love just his worldview on life in general is so fascinating, and like the way he's lived his life and all the things that he's done and accomplished. But then I'm also like, I think you probably just talked to Dave, and Dave was on set, and he maybe whispered a couple things in Gareth's ears, like, "Hey, do it like this. Hey, do it like this," and that was classed as direction. Because we all know that there's two people who you go to really when you want to talk about like the lore and everything, and that's Dave Filoni and the man who I call the keeper of the timeline, Pablo Hidalgo.
That good point there. Maybe Sam Witwer. Maybe Sam Witwer if he's around.
Yeah, and Sam. Yeah, Sam is which, by the way, I watched a podcast with him yesterday. I can't remember the name. It was the Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, I know that. Yes, I know.
And
It's Inside of You or something like that. Right?
Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. He was on that. That was a great interview. This is just completely random. This is just me saying go check out that interview, because the way he like goes into detail about how his relationship with Dave is, I can see him and Freddie Prinze Jr., who also loves Star Wars, having the same kind of relationship where they just talk about lore and story stuff and what's going on with this and what's going on with this. So it's possible that Dave mentioned that to Freddie, and Freddie was just like, "Oh, you were there? You came up with that? Oh, you must have directed the scene."
Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. I didn't know Sam was on that podcast. I like that podcast. I don't listen to it all the time, but like when guests are on that I know and like, I do like to, because Michael Rosenbaum is actually a very, very good host, and must have had a lot to talk about because where Sam Witwer was on that season of Smallville at one point. So I'm sure they had some Smallville.
There was a really cool story, which it started with talking about the poster for The Thing.
Okay.
And then it became a story about how the poster, who I forget the name of the artist that did the artwork for The Thing, did a poster for Being Human season 2, and it was good because Sci-Fi took away all of the marketing budget for Being Human. Sam essentially crowdfunded. He had this poster made by the same guy who did the poster for The Thing. It cost
Drew
him
Sturgeon, right? Drew Sturgeon, right?
Yes,
the famous Drew Sturgeon.
Yeah, Drew Sturgeon. Had him do it for, I think he said it was like $12,000, and which like Drew Sturgeon apparently does it for like tens and hundreds of thousands for his posters. Oh, yeah. And Sam was selling prints at $80 a print for this poster to pay Drew back.
Oh wow!
So they would have one piece of marketing for this season of Being Human.
That's impressive. That's an impressive thing, man. All right, that's what we'll talk about, that storyline. Let's move on to the next bit of story here. A disturbance in the Force. We got to see a trailer unveil about a documentary about the holiday special. I saw the trailer. I'm pretty intrigued. I got to say, this is a very niche piece of Star Wars history. Obviously, I have seen it once, full in pieces, and other times. I feel like I do have to watch it again before the documentary, or maybe I should wait till after the documentary. I'm not sure. I know it's not good. I'm not going to ever say it's good, but it's still kind of a relic of its time, of its humor. And then I think the trailer seems to indicate it's going to lean into that a bit, which makes me happy. I will say I worry a little bit about it being too mean-spirited, too negative. Kind of feel like that documentary, the People versus George Lucas thing. I don't want it to get that way. I'd like this to be a celebration of what happened at the time. And, I'm not saying it has to say anything positive about it. It doesn't have to say, oh, this is a great piece of cinema, a great artwork or whatever. But I feel like there's a way to do it that kind of like laughs with it and with the fans rather than at it or at the fans. So I'm kind of hoping we go more in that direction. We don't have negativity, of course, in Star Wars land to deal with. So let's hopefully keep this positive. The vibe seems good from the trailer, so I'm going to cross my fingers. I'm definitely looking forward to it. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch it out of curiosity. It's been a very long time since I watched the Christmas special. Like probably 5 or 6 years, I would say, since the last time I watched it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I hope it's a more positive take on it. But we know negativity sells. So
That's true. That's true. That is true. Hopefully, we can cross our fingers. I will say I was a little bit of a Jack Sparrow. I don't want to say anything too much, but I did find someone who created a fan edit of the holiday special, and it
nice.
was a supposedly just just like was a very remastering of it kind of thing, taking the best versions of it that they could have, and kept the 1978 commercials intact. I guess so. I haven't watched it yet, but I was like, I'll download that. I'll put that in the queue at some point to watch. So that's the one I'll watch, and this seems like a good reason to do it. So,
Is it on Disney Plus?
it is not. Lucas has pretty much declared that it will never be. You'll never see the light of day. Lucas is. I bet you that's in the Disney agreement he made when he sold Disney. I'm almost guaranteeing you that this will never see the light of day. The only thing you'll get, and I believe, what is on Disney Plus is just the animated Boba Fett sequence. The introduction to Boba Fett is in there. That I think you can find on Disney Plus, if I'm not mistaken, or you could at one point. Lucas kind of allowed that out of the vault, so to speak. But the rest of it, there's no B. Arthur, there's no Lumpy, there's none of that stuff going on. So that's the reason why I wanted to download it, to at least have a note in history, so to speak. Archiving things of that nature. So
I'm gonna have to do some digging around to find it.
All right, next up, we got a cool article I got as I say all the time, I get most of my news bits from Star Wars and Newsnet. They do a great job of curating stories and also declaring what is a real story and what is more rumor, as we sift through the tea leaves, so to speak. I feel like they're very responsible with how they present their news overall. This is why I go there. This story was about Dave Filoni again. And the title, Dave Filoni had the Ahsoka story conceptualized years ago and cited the expanded universe as an influence for the Mando verse. There's not a whole lot in this article that's groundbreaking or earth-shattering. But they did mention that the reason why he chose live action over animated is his quote was, "You have to decide what's best for the story." And I think we found, whatever my story is about in Ahsoka, and I'm very pleased. He mentions also, of course, that this has been a long time in coming. He's actually had this storyline in mind for a long time, even before Mandalorian started. Now, with Mandalorian starting and working with Jon Favreau, he has kind of retroactively changed some things in order to kind of piece together with the Mandoverse, which makes sense, obviously. But at the end of the day, it seems like he's has the same idea in mind. But he said also that the ending, expanded universe of the Mandalorian stuff has really taken a large chunk from the expanded universe at the time. There's some kind of interest that way. So I kind of feel, and I think this is kind of confirming what a lot of people believe to be true. I believe this is going to be a case of a sequel to Rebels, but working with Mando in order to lead towards the culmination event of Mando, Ahsoka, probably Skeleton Crew, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we're going to culminate in what's going to be a very, very, very loose adaptation, and inspired by, rather than an adaptation, the famous Thrawn trilogy from the original expanded universe. That's my thought on that. What do you think?
There was a very interesting piece of artwork that went up yesterday that I saw that said Guardians of the New Republic, and it had Ahsoka, Din Djarin, and Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a picture of those three.
Interesting.
Which says to me, someone's been reading Heir to the Empire.
I feel like this is, I think, I could be wrong, but again, I'm trying to read tea leaves here. So again, as our friends on Force Center, Ken Knapsack, Joseph Scrimshaw, Jennifer Landa would say, speculate responsibly. I'm trying to speculate responsibly. So I will say right here, this is just me trying to read some tea leaves here. I feel like they introduced Luke into the storyline, because Luke obviously has a big part to play in the Heir of the Empire trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy. I feel like the reimagining that we're going to see is going to refocus it away from Luke, but Luke's still going to have a part. So you have to have Luke in it, but we're not going to see a lot of Luke's side of it, I don't believe. I believe we're going to focus on a different side of things, because we can't have, I don't think we're going to have Luke, a CGI, de-aged, whatever that you want to call it, deep fake Luke. It's a big budget, so I don't think you could have him like leading a series, so to speak. but he'll be in it. He'll be involved in it. So that's where the reimagining part is going to take place. It's going to reconceptualize. We're going to have Luke taking on some bits. He'll probably have some episodes involvement, but it'll just come from a different angle as well. Well, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they have the budget. Maybe they want to have a big Luke moment. Maybe it's all going to lead towards a Luke moment. I don't know. But interesting enough, it's the Mandoverse. So it's got to focus on Din, really. So it's going to be kind of interesting finding that balance.
I mean, that's just the name that us as fans have given it, right? The Mandoverse. They've not come out and said this is the Mandalorian story. This is just like a name that we've coined. I wouldn't be shocked if they drip feed Luke throughout. So, like in Ahsoka, we see him for an episode. In Mandalorian season 3 and 4, we see him for an episode. Maybe, well, probably not Skeleton Crew, but who the fuck knows at this point? We know nothing about that show, so who knows? And then in this final event, which I am sticking to my guns and saying is a movie, that is when they go, all right, movie budget, there you go. All the deep fake, all the CGI, bring in Luke.
Yeah.
Bring in the big guns.
You think theatrical? Theatrical film?
Theatrical film. Deep fake Luke versus Thrawn.
Interestingly enough, that could be done. I mean, well, would have to be Thrawn would have to have his own little Jorah Sabaoth kind of character, his own little Jedi, Dark Jedi somewhere in there, I think, in order to make it a fair fight somehow. But I agree with what you're saying. I wouldn't mind. I would love to see that. And you know what? I think initially we keep thinking about like, oh, it's this culmination event because that's what Kathleen Kennedy called it at one point in 2020. She said it would lead to a culmination event. With later on conversations with Jon Favreau saying this could go on forever, I think this could be not a culmination event, but a big event that rounds out the story, kind of like Avengers Endgame would, and then we'll continue on a different storyline with Mando at that point, potentially. But yeah, I agree. I think this is potentially a powerful way to do it. I'm eager to see how it goes. For sure.
It's definitely a moment where Bob Iger can say, because we know Bob Iger wants movies. He wants Star Wars movies. And who's the biggest cinematic draw in Star Wars movies? It's Luke Skywalker. It is wondering when's Luke going to show up. We watched the original trilogy mostly for Luke's story.
You know what? It's kind of funny. This leads into our next story. Our next story involves Variety having an exclusive article from the other day. It says Variety Star Wars shakeup. Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins movies were shelved. Taika Waititi is looking to star in his own film. So we'll get into that in a minute, but to kind of transition in a way, I do think you're right in terms of, I think Bob Iger wants movies. What is the most successful property Star Wars has right now? Mandalorian. That's our biggest storyline right now. That's it. So if that's the most famous thing, we had the Rise of Skywalker in the article. It said the Rise of Skywalker imploded. I still think it made a shit ton of money. I don't think if that's imploding, then well, then that's I know most movies will be happy to be blowed. But let's be completely honest. But with that in mind, if you're looking to find a way to galvanize the fans, to really bring the fans that drove back to the movie theater, you bring up Luke Skywalker, who is well known to the casual audience as the Star Wars guy. Like outside of Darth Vader, he's probably the most recognizable character. And you give us the Mandalorian as well, which is what the Star Wars fans have really gravitated toward, your biggest Disney Plus thing. And it leads people back to Disney Plus to watch the Mandalorian to get ready for the movie. It's a circular thing. It makes all the sense in the world, which is why I don't think you're wrong. I think this is actually going to culminate in some kind of thing. Perhaps even we'll find out that this is going to be the 2027 movie. Maybe this will be announced at Celebration, potentially.
Oh, man. David Lindelof's the one that writing.
Could be. Well, I think Damon's doing something different. I think he's doing 2025. I think he's doing the 2025 movie. I think 2027 could be Mandalorian. Or maybe it's 2029 even. We're going to go that far out, and it's going to be maybe Taika Waititi's movie would be in 2027, potentially.
And I'm going to nip this in the bud real quick. Anyone that says, oh, but Rise of Skywalker was the end of the Skywalker saga. Guess what? This happens before Rise of Skywalker. So technically, that was the end. This happened before it. So
that's true. That's very true. And I'd be okay with that. I think they'd be okay with that because, quite frankly, they got to find the right way to get everybody back.
They got to be okay with it. If it happens, tough shit.
All right, just real quick to tie in the rest of that news bit we had. Like I said, it does say that Patty Jenkins' film was shelved, and that is kind of not a surprise. We all saw that, despite Patty Jenkins having that statement where she was still developed. She even said she was still trying to develop it, but she wasn't sure it was going to happen. So I didn't think it was going to happen. I kind of laid odds it wasn't going to happen. The fact that Kevin Feige's is shelved is kind of news. I mean, we hadn't heard about it for a long time. So I think it was initially announced in like 2019 or something to that effect. And then recently as like 7 or 8 months ago, Michael Waldron, the scriptwriter, said he was writing a script for Feige's, but then kind of nothing since then. But the announcement of all the stuff coming with Marvel and stuff, it makes sense that Kevin Feige's too busy. I don't think it's dead. And I don't think even this article even says it's dead. It's just shelved for a while. It's not going to be an active development. I think he's just got too much to do Marvel-wise. But the most interesting bit of news to me in this was Taika Waititi's still being on, because I hadn't heard anything in a bit on that. And after Thor: Love and Thunder, I thought there might be a correction or recorrection or maybe something else. But then the fact that Taika Waititi is planning to potentially star in it, much like Jojo Rabbit, I do love it, because I do think Taika Waititi has been overhated since Thor: Love and Thunder. I actually like Thor: Love and Thunder. I like Thor: Love and Thunder, but the guy has a good track record before. Even if we take Thor: Lover aside, say you didn't like, say you hated Thor: Love and Thunder for various reasons, whatever. I still think he's got a great track record before that. So one bad movie does not make shouldn't end a director's career. He should never do it.
Thank you. Fully. Because like I've been saying, and I'm literally just looking up his IMDb right now. What We Do in the Shadows, Jojo Rabbit, Free Guy, Reservation Dogs, Thor Ragnarok, which most people say is I know it's my favorite MCU movie. He's got all of the what was the pirate show that he's just done?
I know what you're talking. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is now.
The pirate show that he's done. I saw everyone was loving that. Taika has one what some people consider as a bad movie, and then they write him off. Like, that dude has been working his ass off for years, like constantly putting out hit after hit after hit.
Right.
And he's out there in the public as well. He's not a director who just does the work and then puts it out and then fades away. No, he's out there. He's doing the press. He's acting in the movies. The dude is a legit rock star of a movie director. So he's probably just like, you know what? I have one that people consider not that great. Look at the rest of my track record. Like, speaks for itself. I don't have to say anything. Just look at his IMDb list.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks for itself.
I know. So I'm very happy to see him still involved in the Star Wars universe. What I will say, I don't want to say I'm not being negative about it, but I will say, in a time where we have to reestablish ourselves, I'm not sure a Taika Waititi film, which has a definite unique way of doing things. It's definitely got a unique flair to it, a unique tone to it. I'm not sure that's the one to bring you back in. It's kind of a little bit of a ballsy try. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I definitely would not want to see that in 2025 per se. I don't think that's the film to bring you back in, so to speak. I think we go with the Damon Lindelof one. But on the other side, I still would love to see him, a Star Wars universe thing done by him. He did well with his little bits and pieces of Mandalorian. So right. I think he can definitely fit his way in there. So I get some trepidation. I understand a little bit of trepidation, but overall, he's still a very talented director, and I want to see what he's going to do. So
yeah, that was the. See, I even have troubles understanding it, because you look at Jojo Rabbit. He can do comedy and then flip it straight on its head, and you have the deeper themes, the darker themes, the emotionally hitting moments, and it's just like he can do both,
right?
And he can act. He turned Adolf Hitler, the most despised person in all of human history, into a child's imaginary friend who was kind of funny,
right? And it made it work. And it was such a very touching movie. That was where he did one of his best bits of balancing that humor and serious, passionate, powerful stories, and straddle that line completely well.
And he had the balls to play Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what they're actually saying in the article, is kind of like that, in terms of he would star in that kind of role, like kind of that front and center of things. So I don't know. I'm interested to see if he can do it. So Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Okay, the last bit of news that we're going to talk about today before we get into the rest of the episode and the review of the Mandalorian episode, we had the announcement, finally the announcement of all of the panels of Star Wars Celebration. I want to go through them with you. Which ones do you want to go through? Which ones you're interested in? And most importantly to me, we are getting a stream, a Star Wars live stream, which was in doubt as of until yesterday, until this morning we was in doubt. I mean, I still don't think we're probably going to get any of the panels per se. Like last time, probably will be a similar situation. Hopefully that goes away when Repop goes away. Hopefully that won't be an issue next time. But at least if we're having a stream, we'll get at least talk about the panel. We'll get some information. Hopefully, maybe they'll screen some trailers for us as well. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, I'm excited about it, and I'm very excited about it for you because we definitely got
it's the Star Wars Live.
Yes,
right. That's where like Hector Navarro and Ash Crossan and they all do. They get stars up and interview them. They may show clips. Yeah, they may show clips from the panels, but I agree. I don't think we'll get. Because these ones that have been announced are all the big, like, main.
Well, they got updated. We got even more. We got even more going through. So let's go through what we got so far. All right, we got the first one. The very first one is the big one. I'm surprised that they're not saving it to the end. It's kind of one of those things like it should almost be a closing out one, but instead we're going to open with it.
Yeah, they opened with it last year as well.
That's right. I do remember that kind of vaguely. I kind of forgot that for a while. It's kind of like. I don't know whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess you open with it, get the bang right away, but like at the same time, it kind of feels like it derails the rest of it in a way because it's like this is the important news everybody's waiting for. You kind of like saving. It's like closing a concert. It's like opening a concert with your encore song in a way.
Yeah. There's also that it's on a Friday, and that Friday is a public holiday here, so there's going to be more people going on the Friday than the Monday. Okay. The Monday's a public holiday as well, but like. Who wants
to Monday? No.
Yeah, it's a Monday. Who wants
that is strange too. Is that what happened last year? Was it a Monday last year too? I kind of thought I just thought they ended up selling it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday last time.
No, because I flew home on the Monday.
Right. So I think it usually was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's interesting they're starting on a Friday this year, still ending on a Monday. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not a planner of this stuff. I don't know. Maybe they know more than I do. Who knows? But either way, like we said, Lucasfilm Studio Showcase, Friday, April 7th I got 11 a.m. Eastern. So I don't know what that time is for you. Does that sound right to you? Because we're getting at 11 a.m. Eastern, which
11 a.m. Eastern. What time is it there now?
Now it is 3:49. So
that'd be quite late. I think I've got it down for like 12. Maybe. I think it's at 12 p.m. I think it's at midday. Yeah, it's at midday. 12 till 1:30 midday.
All right. I mean, I got that from Star Wars News Net, so I'm not sure if the timings are right. So I'll have to go back and see. But either way, that's the first big one. And I'll read Star Wars Celebration returns, launching with a must-see showcase that will kick the weekend's festivities into hyperdrive. Lucasfilm's current crop of live-action filmmakers will be joined by special guests to discuss the many current and upcoming Star Wars adventures, including The Mandalorian, Andor, and more. I'm going to hone in on one specific thing: special guests. That usually means we don't want to tell you who's coming because we want it to be a surprise, which to me indicates we're going to get some announcements. And again, I guess that's not really anything that's out of the realm of possibility. We're all kind of predicting that. I think we're all thinking that there's going to be some kind of announcement there for a new movie, maybe other stuff as well. Who knows? But it's just nice to get that kind of description that backs that up, so to speak.
Yeah. A lot of people are clamoring for Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he didn't.
Because Harrison appeared last year.
Interesting. I don't know if he's going to have it. It would not be in. Would it be in this one? I don't know. Maybe I bet he might come into play a panel later on because this is like the announcement of stuff coming up. I don't know if Mark Hamill's doing a whole lot as far as coming up. No. Maybe, but hour and a half, and right now we got The Mandalorian, which has already, well, at this point, will have not completed yet, but be close to completing. So can't really bring forth much about The Mandalorian unless they're going to talk about season 4. Andor, they can talk about season 2 of Andor, but then and more for an hour and a half. So that means there's a lot they're not telling us about, which is...
That'll be the one when the movie gets announced.
Oh, absolutely. Because the reason why I say that specifically is that Saturday, I'll skip ahead for a minute, Saturday at 11 a.m. is the Ahsoka panel for an hour. And that's joint executive producer Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and special guests for a look at the upcoming Disney Plus series Ahsoka. Going back now to the original, that means we're not going to get Ahsoka in the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase, which is the most recent thing. So therefore, we're going to get Skeleton Crew for sure, I believe. I believe we're going to get an announcement of Skeleton Crew or something about Skeleton Crew in the showcase. And I think we're definitely going to get the 2025 movie. If not, the 2027 movie. I think we're going to get the 2025 movie. We're going to get the name, we're going to get the director, and I think we're going to get maybe the star of it. 2025, and then I think for the 2027 movie, I think we get maybe an announcement of the director, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We might get a little bit of Ahsoka because I remember last year they showed the Mandalorian trailer, the first one for season 3, and then in the Mandalorian panel they showed the extended one, and then they brought out all the cast. So I imagine we might get something on the thread just to be like, here's when it's coming out, just so we can be like, all right, here's when it's coming out, and then on the Saturday they'll be like, now here's everyone who's in it.
Right. They could do that. They could do that. I almost hope they don't, though, because that means there's more we're going to get. We know we're getting Ahsoka this celebration because that is the very next thing that's coming out to talk about. So I think we get maybe a little bit about Ahsoka, but I think that's most of it's going to be saved for that 1 hour panel. So that's my guess. Like I said, I'll reiterate it one more time. Skeleton Crew, 2025 movie, maybe the 2027 movie. And maybe this is a long-term shout out. I don't want to expect too much because sometimes when we expect too much, we get overhyped and then we get disappointed.
We get D23 last year.
Absolutely. Potentially, maybe they'll announce, they'll give us the next live action series, in the way they give Skeleton Crew last time. Like the name, that's it.
Maybe kind of because they are shooting it here. Maybe we get someone on Acolyte.
You know what? I forgot about the Acolyte. That's actually a good point. I bet we get something from the Acolyte. I bet that would be our kind of our Skeleton Crew thing, but a little bit more. We'll get maybe a sizzle reel, maybe because they've been shooting for a bit and everything else. So maybe have something to talk about it a little bit. Yeah, that's what we'll get. Okay,
because I think they're just finishing up here, and I think they move on to Romania next, which is goth as fuck, and I love it for a Ziv show. If they're going over to shoot in Romania, hell yeah!
All right, cool. All right. Other product we'll get into as we're going to go through this chronologically. Also that day, London Calling, designing Star Wars Productions in the UK. Cool. We got Amy Radcliffe and Lee Sandalis and Kevin Jenkins, Jake Davies and Glenn Dillon as a behind-the-scenes look at the design work for the sequel trilogy as well as Solo and Rogue One. It was kind of cool to see behind-the-scenes stuff. Okay, we got the Making of Andor Season 1 from 3 to 4. That's going to be a lot of fun there. I wonder if we don't get some season 2 stuff there as well. I kind of feel like at the end, maybe a tease of what's coming up in season 2.
I want in on that panel because they didn't do a gallery for Andor.
Yeah,
I want in on that panel.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. We didn't get why not Lucasfilm? Why not Disney Plus? Let's get a gallery on that one. So
there isn't another Andor panel, right? That's the Andor panel.
That is the Andor panel. Yes, at least that's been announced so far. So.
I have.
There's the visual effects. I'm sorry. There's a visual effects of Andor panel on Sunday.
I have a photo up with one Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh.
I'm just saying. It's Andor. Mads is gonna be there.
That'd be interesting. That could be interesting.
People have been talking about Galen coming back.
You know, and that could be done in the studio showcase as well. That could be one of those things where they leave that panel to be the Making of Andor season 1, and they give us the Andor tease in the studio showcase, which could be. But either way, I don't think you're not entirely wrong there. You're not entirely wrong. I'd be interested to see if they go that direction because the show being Andor is going the Urso way a little bit too off the beaten path because he wouldn't. Well,
I think having Galen, maybe leave Jin out, but having Galen there
potentially.
If you bring like Galen and Krennic, just bringing those two, that would be sweet. I mean, I know Mads lives in Denmark, so he's like a hop, skipping, and jumping away,
right?
But like, it's kind of weird that they picked him.
Yeah.
There's no Rogue One panel.
Yeah, that's true. I like the speculations. Keep our speculation down. We can't get too excited. We always want everything and get nothing, but not get nothing, but
I'm just putting one-on-one together and making sure I make 2, not 5.
Yeah, we'll find out if that's true or not, though. But all right, that's the end of Friday. It was the making of Andor season 1. That's the other panel they're talking about on Friday, which again is Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna, and talking about the first season, which is kind of cool. The next day is the Ahsoka panel at 11. That's the first panel. It seems to be the highlight panel, and that's where we're getting the freaking trailer. I think that's when at least you guys are getting the trailer. I think we got to get the trailer too. I think this is one that's going to give us. They're going to give it to us as well.
You PLD will get the trailer.
I hope you're from your lips to the Force's ears, to the Will's ears. Let's put it that way. All right. Next up from there, we got Bringing Worlds to Life. The concept artists of ILM join host Clayton Sando alongside Doug Chang and members of ILM to take you behind the scenes to explore what bringing a director's vision to the silver screen. I love Doug Chang. So anytime you get a panel with Doug Chang, I
want in on this one so bad. Like I love Doug Chang. I love listening to Doug Chang talk about any like design work or anything. Yep. I want in on this one for damn sure.
That's a lot of fun for that one. I do love him. He's really passionate about it. He knows what he's doing, and he has a lot of stories to tell. Next up, we got the unfortunately overlapping would be the High Republic panel.
Okay. I'm okay with that overlapping.
I mean, I do like High Republic. Obviously, I've fallen off the High Republic a little bit. I know some people absolutely love it. I'm just a little bit behind, so that's partially on me. I want to go back and reread it. I do love the Blade comic I've been reading. I updated myself on that last night. I read the Blade. I'm rereading from the beginning to kind of like catch up what I've missed on the High Republic. So I'm interested to see what's going to go from Phase 3. Personally, I was not a huge fan with how they're doing. They did the High Republic, and they're going back to the High, like before the High Republic. I kind of feel like it's losing its momentum a little bit that way. For me,
I'm still kind of like, where are you guys go? Like, because I am caught up with it, and I'm still kind of like, where are you guys going with this?
Right. It just seems like it's a little bit loose. I mean, it's not bad. It's got some great characters. I like the idea, but I'm a little behind on it. So hopefully,
just give me more Geo. That's all I want.
Hopefully, this panel might be able to show us the direction, because we're going to get a sneak peek of what's coming in Phase 3. So that'll be exciting.
Sick.
Also, we got the 40 years of Return of the Jedi. Awesome. I love that idea. I mean, obviously, I was there for the 40 of Star Wars as well, so I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this one. It does say, let's see, 40 years ago, Return of the Jedi was the highly anticipated sequel Star Wars fans have been waiting to see, and the last Star Wars theatrical adventure to be released for the foreseeable future. Counted as a favorite episode by many, Return of the Jedi story, characters, settings, and score still resonate with fans today. Its 40th anniversary offers the perfect opportunity to celebrate this time-honored classic. Join special guest host Ming-Na Wen, which is cool, as she chats with Star Wars legends of the past, present, and future about the influence of this beloved chapter in the galaxy far, far away. I think you got to have Mark Hamill there. That's where Mark Hamill shows up.
I hope it's Mark and it's not Harrison, because that means you got to put Harrison on a plane. And Harrison don't want to fly that plane. And we know what happens when Harrison Ford flies planes. So I would hope that is Mark. I did find it interesting that Ming-Na Wen's hosting it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of
pretty cool.
You know what I don't see, which is actually surprising, and maybe I'm just really realizing this now. I'm not saying anything about Warwick Davis, who's usually a big-time host at Celebration.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's maybe he's too busy doing something else. I don't know, but I like being that one.
Stuff. Actually, he is there because he's doing photo ops.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll hosting
at some point.
Okay, he'll probably be hosting one of the panels, and they just don't announce him because he's just so like you don't have to announce him because he's just such a. He's like hand in hand with Celebration, really, honestly.
They might do something with Willow that they'll announce like closest to the time, and they'll be like, here's a Willow panel with Warwick Davis.
That's true. We do have Lucasfilm. It is Lucasfilm does start. We actually have obviously had the indie news last time. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some indie stuff and some Willow stuff as well, potentially. All right, going on, we got Star Wars Creator Cosplay Workshop. Some Mandalorian costume designer and hair department, Shauna Trippick and Maria Sandoval, lend their expertise to give you tips and tricks on your own cosplay. Interesting. Not for me, but I know the cosplay is a huge love for people out there, so I'm sure that'll be cool for them.
Yeah, you look at you're going to go as far as look at the Mando Mercs or the 501st Legion. Like, I know a bunch of guys that are in both of those factions, and I wish I had half the skill or patience to even like remotely think of trying to build something like that. But
absolutely. Next, we got Star Wars Young Jedi Adventure screening. That's kind of cool. I'm going to get a sneak peek of that new, what is it, the preschool Disney Plus show, which again, I'm gonna watch. I don't care. I know I'm a 46-year-old guy, but I'll watch it. We probably won't cover it very much out here.
What time? What time is that panel?
That's
That's it.
3 to 4. That's after right
Oh,
after
I'll be drunk by then. I'm not going to that panel. I'm not going to that panel when there's a bar nearby.
4 to 5, according to this Hasbro Star Wars and Indiana Jones panel, talking about the Star Wars and Indiana Jones lines, the Black Series, all the hottest action figures and things of that nature. That's kind of cool. Yeah,
I just want a Black Series Darth Maul lightsaber. That's all I want.
Hopefully, from your lips to the wheels yours again, and we'll make that happen. Got the Creature Cantina, Neil Scanlon's Creature Cantina, which is he's responsible obviously for the creation of the droids, the creatures, and aliens of all the team for like the last 10 years. So Neil gets to show you how they create them and how they do that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. But you'll be drunk by then, obviously, so you won't make that one either.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, you're gonna miss another good panel then.
Oh no, I'll go into this one drunk.
The Clone Wars 15-year anniversary panels, the end of the night, joining Dave Filoni, Athena Portillo, Matthew Wood, D. Bradley Baker, Ashley Eckstein, Matt Lanter, and James Arnold Taylor for a look back at the beginning of Lucasfilm animation and how Star Wars The Clone Wars came to be. As a Star Wars The Clone Wars fan, I would definitively be in this one. I would love to see what they're going to have in store for us here.
I just want there to be multiple seats with D. Bradley Baker's name on it, where he jumps between doing like different voices. Yeah, so there's a chair for Rex, there's a chair for Cody. He just like jumps between the two.
I love that. That'd be awesome. All right, on Sunday now we have the villains of the sequel trilogy, which is obviously joining Amy Ratcliffe. We have Ian McDermott, Andy Serkis, and Gwendolyn Christie talking about the finals in this chapters of the Skywalker saga. Ian McDermott is always a joy to listen to. Andy Serkis, always a joy to listen to. And Gwendolyn Christie is just fabulous. So, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong there.
Yeah. I actually think that, what time is that at? 11 to... Okay, so my photo thing with Andy Serkis is literally half an hour after that, so I might go to that one.
Oh, there you go. You need to talk right about it. There you go. After that, we got the Behind the Magic, the visual effects of Andor. That's going to be a little bit more of like the Andor gallery, so to speak.
Yep.
That's kind of cool. You'll be standing in line for Andy Serkis, unfortunately, for that one.
Yeah.
Next, we got the Dark Hyperspace Stories, the Dark Horse Comics returns. Interestingly enough, that's kind of interesting for some Star Wars comic stuff.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting panel. This is a very interesting panel. A look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi. Take a look back at the Hit Limited series with Obi-Wan Kenobi cast members Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Indira Varma, and Vivian Lynn Blair. Now, usually, a lot of times they do things like the 40th
and Deborah Chow.
And Deborah Chow. Okay, it's not in my list here, but that's great. Okay. Now, usually do 40th anniversary, Return of the Jedi, that kind of thing. They did the 15th anniversary of the Clone Wars. There's no real reason to look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi, besides it being awesome, hands down. Are we getting an announcement for season 2?
You know what? I didn't think so, but then shout out to our friend John Hoey. He put the idea in my head, and he convinced me. So I think we are.
I mean, I don't want again. I'm very much I'm not a good person. I force, as far as speculating responsibly, I put all this out there, hoping we'll get some of it, and then I get disappointed when I don't get it. But
it's manifestation. Manifestation.
But reading the tea leaves, it feels like there's no real reason to have this type of panel at this time if you're not going to announce something else. So, and who knows? Again, that might be. Although, hell, we might get, but that might be a clue as to one of the things we're going to get in the Lucasfilm showcase as well. And maybe that's why, well, we're going to have this announcement here. We might as well have them here. We'll have them do a panel on it anyway. So, we'll see. We got Funko Collect Across the Galaxy next. All sorts of Funko pop culture stuff. I know I'm not a big Funko guy. I mean, a lot of people are. I like them, but like it's not anything. I wouldn't go to the
I have one. It's currently up there, so I can't reach it. Of B2 Emo.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I have a few. I got it because I used to have a Star Wars box. It was one of those monthly boxes you get,
Okay.
and it came with a Funko every time. I got it usually for the shirts. They had these cool shirts that came in, but the Funko came with it. So I had a collection of a few of them. So, but I never went out and like bought one specifically for myself. All right, we got Star Wars cosplay competition, of course. That's a normal thing that the fans tend to really love there.
Yep.
Panel on Disney parks where Star Wars comes to life. Interesting look at like all these stuff that's on Star Wars Land on Disney. That's kind of cool.
It's interesting they're doing this one in London because out of the 3 Star Wars parks, Paris is the only one that doesn't have Galaxy's Edge.
Yet. Maybe this is what they're going to announce. Maybe.
I mean, they've just put in the Avengers one, so it might be a while.
Yeah, it could be a while. They might announce that's coming at some point. Who knows?
It better do.
We do have Beyond the Spires, making of Tales from Galaxy's Edge. Okay, it's an interesting thing. Animation Game Night, which is kind of cool. A bunch of, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but a competition of galactic proportions starring voice actors such as Ashley Eckstein, D. Bradley Baker, James Arnold Taylor, Matthew Wood, and Matt Lanner, competing in fact feats of knowledge, skill, and luck to prove who is the ultimate Star Wars fan. That just sounds like a lot of fun.
Hey, what I'm saying is, they're lucky that I ain't up there, or Alex and Molly aren't up there. Like they're keeping anyone from the trivia sphere away from this panel.
Probably a smart idea. Idea.
Did I ever tell you the story of what happened last year at Celebration? Okay. Oh god, this is a hilarious story. So we go to see Coy. Coy is hosting, friend of the show, Coy Andrew. He's hosting this panel for Box Lunch, and it's like a trivia thing. And it's me, Sully, Sean Sullivan, Alex, and Molly Damon, and I can't remember. There were a couple of other people who were there. And Coy was firing off questions, and we're like standing front row because we're there to support.
Right, of course.
The first question that gets asked is, what planet is Padme Amidala from? And the woman walks straight over to Alex. Like the first one, and we were just like, oh, no, that's just terrible. It was like Coy had a ringer in the crowd.
That's funny. That is funny. All right, gonna close it out there. The final panel of Sunday is Lucasfilm Publishing Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Interesting enough, so I guess they really are separating the High Republic from everything else. So this would be everything that's not in the High Republic, all the novels coming in. I'm actually excited about that because, again, I don't want to be down on the High Republic, but I kind of don't want the High Republic to be everything Star Wars novel-wise. I like seeing other things involved as well. High Republic does scratch the itch of pre-Phantom Menace stuff, and also scratches the itch of, well, we don't know what's going to happen to these characters compared to a lot of the stuff in the future. The current timelines tend to be kind of interactive with like movies and books, and so nothing really too much can happen else that happened in the show or movie they're accompanying. But I would like to see some more novels that are kind of like combination. Give me something with characters that can have fates unbetold to them, but put it in time frames where they can maybe interact with characters. Poe Dameron. Hondo. Exactly. Give me a Hondo book. Screw it. Let's do it. We got the Hondo book. Pirates.
Anything at this point.
I did, by the way. I remember being in the chat of Star Wars Explained, and I mentioned the Hondo book with the audio book. And Alex informed me of that Hondo book. And so I ended up getting it on Audible. And it's so good. It's like a younger audience book, but Jim Cummings reading it just makes it so worthwhile. I felt like I was watching another episode of Clone Wars or something like that.
We need to do an episode on that.
All right, we'll do an
episode on that.
Absolutely. At some point, we're gonna have to come. Eventually, we're gonna have to come to a point where we do other episodes when we're not reviewing something. Because there's going to be those breaks in between where we don't have anything to review. So, and who knows? I'm going to talk about this off air, but I might push us to do a 2-week show every week, or maybe bonus episodes because I like talking Star Wars. So
yeah, let's do it.
We'll see what's going on there. But all right, going on to Monday, April 10th. Possibly a big panel. The big panel of the day, the featured panel is always that first one they talk about. That's at the beginning of the day there. This one's the Bad Batch panel. Amy Radcliffe, as she invites executive producer and supervising director Brad Rao, Jennifer Corbett, and Athena Portillo, as well as D. Bradley Baker and Michelle Ang to discuss highlights from the second season of the acclaimed series. And hopefully a season 3 announcement. That's what I'm hoping for.
Do you follow Jennifer Corbett on Twitter?
I do. I haven't seen. I kind of miss her tweets though. Sometimes it's one of those things where like I follow her, but I don't always see it come up.
She
Why,
strikes fear into my heart on a weekly damn basis because she tweeted out about this week's episode, today's episode last night,
Oh.
and she said, "You've been asking and asking and asking for it, so this week you're gonna get it." And it was a picture. It was a screenshot from All Quiet on the Western Front. And I was like, oh no, no.
Oh wow, that's sad. Oh, that's savage. That is savage. I missed that. Oh god, I just actually pulled it up, and yes, starting the countdown to Star Wars Celebration. Have much to discuss in the Bad Batch panel on Monday. I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping for it. Give me that season 3 announcement, because quite frankly, what is missing from this Celebration experience so far, we do have a Clone Wars panel, we do have a Bad Batch panel. We don't have that catch-all animation panel. Like we have Lucasfilm Studio stuff. We don't have Lucasfilm Animation, which makes me sad. I kind of think, hoping we get an announcement maybe of a new series potentially. It doesn't look like we're going to get that. So at least give me a Bad Batch season 3. That's what I'm going for.
Absolutely.
All right, a few more. We'll wrap this up. We're almost an hour in. We haven't touched the Mandalorian yet. So it is what it is. Make Mine Marvel Star Wars. That's the Marvel side of Marvel Comics version of Star Wars. Always a great panel, some new announcements, I'm sure. I want to reread, actually, I'm getting on a craze. I kind of fell off the comics a little bit too. Just a lot came out that I was kind of like, I don't know where I was. I'm going to go back. I really want to read after watching Solo, and recently I'm going to reread the War of the Bounty Hunters, Crimson Reign, and the Hidden Empire books. The Hidden Empire is not quite done yet. I want to kind of reread those and get me the Adventures of Kira in comic book form. But I'm always interested to see what they have up their sleeve for Marvel, because I like the Star Wars comics in batches. So. A few more quick ones. I'm just going to skim through these real quick. From Screen to Tabletop, where they discuss making miniature games. Cool stuff. Star Wars Visions Volume 2, which will get the exclusive first look at Visions, because that's going to be coming out a month later. That's going to be a fun time as well. An hour panel on that. Probably not a lot of news, but a good exclusive, maybe a trailer, some kind of teaser kind of thing, potentially. Galaxy sizing collecting in a micro world with Jazzwares. That's kind of more collectible stuff. Doug Chang gets his own panel on Monday again, designing Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Mandalorian, which is kind of cool. And finally, they have a chance to ask Doug their own questions. And then, of course, the closing ceremony. So Celebration looks to be quite the place to be. So
yeah. There is one event that I do want to quickly plug on the Sunday. It's not an official panel, but our friends Ken and Joseph of Force Center, they're doing a event on Sunday, April 9th. It is at the Harrison venue, which I've been to. They actually do really good food in there. It is really close to King's Cross Station. It's like a 5-minute walk from King's Cross Station, so you could just jump on a tube and go straight there. That is at the Harrison venue, Sunday the 9th, so the Sunday night of Celebration. Doors are at 7:30. The show starts at 8, and it is an evening of stand-up comedy with Ken and Joseph, who, well, we know that those two are absolutely hilarious.
Yes,
so definitely go check that out if you're going to be in London that weekend.
And definitely look for the tickets, because I remember, if I listened correctly to their podcast today, they're pretty much all sold out already. But if they do sell out, they will be adding some standing room only tickets. So definitely, because they are knowledgeable about Star Wars, they are funny as hell, and they're definitely something you don't want to miss. And say hi to Ken and Joseph for me. So I know you will. All right, let's finally move on. Then I can't wait to talk about Celebration. I'm actually taking off for Celebration. I'm taking off work that Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and I have Sunday and Monday nights off.
Just fly over. You can stay on my couch. It's fine. Just fly over.
I would consider it. I really would, if I could get the money together for that kind of thing. But either way, I'll try to go. I'll have some conversations with Matty. I'll probably try to go live once a night, even if it's just by myself, to go over the news, any news that drops during the day. I'll try to get some interviews with Matty. Matty hopefully will get some interviews with our fellow Star Wars compatriots and things of that nature. And I'll play those live as well. So stay tuned. Keep that subscription going. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Hit that bell, the notification. You'll get some news from Celebration, from the grounds of Celebration. Holy Snokes is there.
Live on the scene.
That's right. So yeah, there we go. All right, let's get into. Here we are, an hour in. We haven't even touched the Mandalorian. Many people probably saw the thumbnail, saw the title, like we're here for the Mandalorian review. Here we are an hour in, we haven't even talked about it. So let's get into it now. Let's correct that now. We are talking about the Mines of Mandalore, the second episode, which I'm happy to say was a banger in a lot of different ways. But as we do it here on Totally Snokes, we go through our segments and then we catch up at the end, anything we need to catch up with. The very first segment we always have on the Holy Snokes, it is Hondo Watch 2023.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me!
This is a very easy segment to have. We stand Hondo Ohnaka here at Holy Snokes, if you can tell by our podcast logo. Did Hondo Ohnaka make his return? And in this case, his live-action debut on The Mandalorian last night.
This effort is no longer profitable!
Unfortunately, you know the answer to that. The answer is no. Still no. One day. I will not give up hope.
No, we'll never give up hope. We will never give up the search for Hondo. It's at this point where I'm going to have to start getting milk cartons and putting the Hondo's face on them and saying, where's Hondo?
It's Hondo. That should be a book series that they do Lucasfilm. Not where's Waldo, where's Hondo?
Where's Hondo?
I like it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just different pages of like different planets and like you got to pick out. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe they call it Here's Hondo instead. Here's Hondo.
Hondo, yes. I like it.
That's the piece of merchandise I need from Lucasfilm now. Keep that in mind. All right, we go to our next category here. It's the bounty.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is the segment where we do a kind of a quick sum up of the episode, in case you forgot since you watched it last night. We talk about it not in depth, but get into basically the summary of what happened. Go from there. We start out obviously on Tatooine. The holiday of Bunta, which actually made me happy. When I heard that the Bunta Eve celebration of the fireworks going, and we see Peli Motto always makes I love Peli. I don't know about everybody else. Some people don't like her very much.
She's definitely got like at first I was she annoys me, but now I'm like, okay, yeah,
she's kind of made her place now. She's got it like carved out her own little niche there. Obviously, she's scamming a Rodian to fix her speeder. It's only Peli and the Jawas can do. I love the Jawas so much. We do have Din show up asking about the part he needs for IG. Peli, of course, says, nope, don't have it, but tries to push R5 on him. R5D4, which I'm excited to see. We get to see more of the droid who made his debut way back in 1977 in A New Hope. And if he didn't blow his stabilizer, we would never have gotten R2 and Luke together. So
I mean, he blew something off as soon as Peli said, you're going to go, or otherwise I'm going to sell you back to the Jawas. He was like, oh, hell no.
Hell no. Hell to the no. But so I will say really quickly here that this episode really threw me for a loop because it took everything I thought was going to happen and totally rearrange it. And let's put it this way. It's called The Mines of Mandalore. And I went, wait, I thought that was going to be like 8 episodes in. There were 6 or 7 episodes that we were going to get The Mines of Mandalore. Oh, we're doing it all now. We're doing it right now. So that really threw me for a loop. But a little bit of a issue I had here, kind of. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, but he takes R5D4. But last episode, he was so in tune to it has to be IG. He won't buy another droid. Also, he's like, okay, maybe I don't need IG after all. It's a little bit of a weirdness to me.
I gotta think it's like he's just resigned himself to it. Like the Anzellans couldn't find it. You would think of all people, the Jawas would be able to find one.
Right.
He's probably just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be wasting time looking for this thing. Let me just take this hunk of junk.
It was almost funny. It almost felt like because there are some fans who weren't exactly thrilled with the premiere. Some people were saying stuff like how like it was like, oh, we're doing the same thing. It's all set up. I kind of feel like it's almost like it was like, you know what, fine. I won't make this last for. I won't prolong this. I'm just get this out of the way so I can get to the rest of the season. I don't know. I didn't care. I was actually happy to see what we were doing, but I accepted. Okay, so we get R5. We got R5. We end up going to Mandalore right away. Holy shit. Oh, we're just going to rip the bandit off and go right to it. We get Din and Grogu with R5. They go to test out the atmosphere. R5 gets into a little bit of trouble, then saves them. Grogu comes out. Did they get into a little bit more trouble? Din gets taken on by, well, kind of, I don't know what that creature was, but a kind of General Grievous like creature, like a organic person with a robot thing, and captures Din.
Yeah, the droid looked to me kind of like one of the basilisk droids, which from I think they're from SWTOR, pretty much. I think that's the first place I saw them. And they are Mandalorian made droids. So seeing that, I was kind of like, oh, they really are going there with the EU stuff, huh? Okay, cool.
Interesting. Yeah. But Din is caught up, and interestingly enough, he just tells Grogu to go get away, and let's go get Bo. So he goes and goes to get Bo. All right, cool. So Grogu goes to get Bo, and Bo at first is like, again, get the hell out, until she sees that it's only Grogu. And quickly enough, very quickly, so happily, it made me happy that she very quickly changed the tune and said, all right, take me to him. Let's take care of this. She comes, she whoops all sorts of ass, does it much better than Din does, actually, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing. She ends up she saves Din, rescues Din, says, well, I'm here, I might as well take you to the mines, even though I think you're being an idiot, in her own very way. And Din bathes in the mines of Mandalore and then gets sucked under. We don't know by what at first, until Bo-Katan jumps right in after him, gets him at the bottom of the water there, and then we see it on the way back up. We see
Godzilla.
Godzilla has nothing on the Mythosaur.
Godzilla ain't got shit on this.
Exactly. Mythosaur is long, big, proud, full of a skull, all skull, basically, as you were, making Bo gasp. But of course, obviously, we know that there is the prophecy that the Mythosaur was going to return, and when the Mythosaur returned, the Mandalore would rise again. So all sorts of things taking place here at this point, and that's pretty much where we end. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next at this point. But I feel like I thought I knew where we're going, and now I think we're going in a little bit of a different direction, and I can't wait to see where we go.
Yeah, I was. We've still got what, 6 episodes left?
Yep.
Where the hell are they gonna go?
That's a good question, and we'll have to touch base with in one of our segments soon. So let's move on to our segments. Our next segment, and then we'll catch up at the end. It is Mando of the Hour.
Let's just say they might recognize my face.
This is where we choose who is our favorite Mandalorian, our favorite character of the Mandalorian this week. I will go first if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is the fucking Mythosaur. I don't know. That was what it did for me, man. I don't care. I love it.
It didn't even do anything.
Oh, Grogu, he just had to be there. He just had to open his eye and swim up, and I was like, "This is my shit. I want to see more. Give it to me now. Pump that into my veins."
Yeah, I also think, because I don't know if it like pulled Din down. I kind of think that Din just made the mistake of jumping into a giant water hole while wearing heavy Beskar armor and was like, shit, and just sunk like a sack of rocks.
Right.
But it was, and there's a whole thing with acting and Lateef Crowder and Brendan Wayne have talked about this. It's not really taught in acting as much about working with emoting through a mask.
Yeah.
And there's that moment where, and it even says in the subtitles, Bo-Katan gasps. And you see, it's almost like, and I talked about it with the Paz Vizsla thing and how he looked proud in the last episode when he was looking at his boy, who's, by the way, named Ragnar, sickest name for a Mandalorian. Bo-Katan she looked terrified through the mask, and all she saw was an eye.
Yeah. You're not wrong. So scary. Really quick.
He's huge.
Emoting to the mask goes back to Return of the Jedi. Vader, when he looks back and forth between Luke and the Emperor, you can see, to me, that was the greatest emoting of to the mask that I have ever seen. But you're right. So who about you? What about you? Who is your Mando of the Hour?
Mine is Dave.
Dave.
AKA Grogu. For those of you who don't know, I call Grogu Dave because he looks like a Dave to me. Dave Filoni invented him. That's the whole thing. Anytime I see that little dude do a front flip, I'm really like, yes! He flew his little pod all the way through the mines, dodging creature after creature, dodging certain death. He did a front flip to dodge the Grievous looking guy to get into his pod. Just goes hurling up towards the N1 and then just front flips into the N1 and points at where he needs to go. Because Din, it was a callback because Din said to him, being a Mandalorian, you need to learn how to navigate the galaxy.
Yep.
He was like, that's where Bo-Katan is. That's where I grew up on Concordia, which, by the way, sick callback saying that he grew up on Concordia, because now we know there's a divergence between the Watch and Death Watch, that they're two separate factions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool now we got that clarification. But yeah, Grogu, I think Grogu stole the show in this episode. He little man's grown up.
So proud.
Hey, he's
Yeah, no, I agree.
like Bo said, he's tougher than we give him credit for.
Right from the get-go, he jumps into Pelly's arms, which is kind of fun. And then we get to see him again with Bo. He's a kid, but he's still, yeah, I get it. I agree. You can't not watch. That's why it's exciting. That's why I'm glad we have him back. Again, going back to the story from a couple weeks ago, I'm glad that Din and him are back together. They just feel right together. You can't have one without the other at this point. So I'm all on board with that. So good call.
I mean, imagine if Din went to the mines on his own.
End of the story. The story's over.
Who's going to get him back? R5?
Yeah, not going to happen. R5 is no R2. Let's put it that way. All right, we'll move on to our next segment then. I have spoken.
I have spoken.
Our favorite lines of dialogue this week. And we talked about this a little bit beforehand, before the show. This wasn't a very dialogue-heavy show. It was pretty much an action sequence from the get-go. It more like the do this, get here, get there. Pelly had some lines. We did have the nice little dialogue between Bo-Katan and Din after the rescue. But I'm gonna start with my kind of line of dialogue that was my favorite bit of the week. It really wasn't really a line. It was Bo-Katan's gasp when the eye opened. That was actually, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I don't care. It's my segment. I'll do what I want. When she audibly was like, because she recognized how fucked they could be, how amazed she was. So much went on in her head in the space of 2 seconds, and the one little gasp says it all. Because she's not someone who's shocked very often. She's not someone you can startle, and that said it all to me.
Yeah, I agree.
How about you? Do you have a favorite line of dialogue from this week?
I'm trying to find a way to explain it because it's so basic, and it's a line we've heard a million times. When Din said, "This is the way," so Bo had just finished talking about her dad and all the traditions and stuff, and Din is like, "Oh, he sounds like an interesting man. I would have loved to have met him because he seems like him and Din would have got along. He sounds like he's a man who followed the creed,
right?
The tradition meant everything to him. That's the kind of guy that I think Din would have appreciated." And there was the moment where Bo talked about how he died, and Din stops dead in his tracks, and he just you see again, it's the emoted through the mask. He hangs his head and just looks at Bo and goes, "This is the way."
No, I
just
agree.
Oh, because I think a friend of mine, Justin, got to see the second episode early, and he said something that I kept asking. Your beliefs will be questioned in episode 2. I was like, oh, he's talking about Din. Din's beliefs are going to be questioned. And I thought it was going to be that because partway through, he sees the air is clean.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, oh, Bo-Katan was right. I was
right.
Oh, that's what he meant. His belief is being questioned. No, he was talking about Bo.
Right.
Because Bo's whole thing, even when she was like, "Oh, I'm going to give you the grand tour," she was so sarcastic and dismissive about it. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I used to believe in everything until they bombed my planet, and then I just thought it was a big crock of shit." And then she sees how Din is with the commitment to going into the waters to be like his commitment to the cause. It's almost like she has a bit of like admiration for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sees the mythosaur. Like, you got to be thinking in her head, she's like, was I wrong this whole time?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. I actually completely agree with you. In a way, it's kind of like the visual version of emoting without a mask on, or emoting with a mask on. It's a line they say all the time. It's a line that they say on a road. Sometimes it means a little bit more. And this was a definite sign of respect from Din to the Kreese family. A meeting of the mind, so to speak. Even if Bo-Katan is kind of, shall we say, a little lost her way at this moment. She's still a Mandalorian, and Din has respect for her and respect for her culture and her past. It is a great moment. I do. That's actually the funny thing is when I mentioned you mentioned your line of the week, that was my other alternative was going to be that for the same exact reason. So I totally you don't have to explain it much more to me because I understand it completely. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next segment. Put that in your holocron and snoke it.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
This is where we look into something from the episode and go, I kind of want to learn more about it because Star Wars is always about digging a little deeper, whether that be through reference guides or books or comics or spin-offs, whatever. We take a little something from the episode and go, focusing on that. What is that? To me, for me, was the spider droid, was General Grievous. What was it actually doing to Din? Like, never really, he's like taking his blood and something. Is it like...
Yeah.
Is it? But we never heard. We don't know why. No, we never said why this creature is doing this. Even if it is a he, I don't even know. It kind of reminded me a little bit of General Grievous, like I said, the eye thing. You see the eye read up, it kind of felt like General Grievous behind the mask of the android was this organic creature, and the fact that it's taking blood. Does it need blood to feed the organic side of it? Or is that how it feeds? I don't know.
Maybe.
But I want to know more. What is this creature doing? How does it live when Din's not there? Obviously, does it feed on the Alamites? I don't know, but it intrigued me enough that I want to know. It was just an enemy this week, but it did one of those great Star Wars things where it does a lot of things, doesn't explain it, makes you want to know more.
Yeah, I think quite cool.
So
my one's a lot more simple.
Okay, hey, simple's good sometimes.
I just want more Boonta Eve. I want to see more about that because that pie looked lit when they were flying away and like all the fireworks were going off. I was like, who the hell knew the Boba Fett knew how to throw a pie?
That's a good point. That's an absolutely good point. I love that. I love watching the speeders race around, like the drag racers racing around.
It was like Tokyo Drift around Tatooine.
A little bit drifted there, absolutely. Was that Vin? Was that Vin Diesel? I don't know. Toretto on Star Wars.
John the Streamer just woke up in a cold sweat.
Hashtag family. Mandalorian's about family, so there you go. I like that. I definitely like that. All right, let's move on to our next segment. I call this one Seen a Lot of Action.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
This is our favorite action beat of the episode, obviously. This had a lot of action in it. I've gone first a bunch of times today. Why don't you go first on this one, Matty?
I want to say it's Bo-Katan kicking ass all over. But mine's a very simple moment.
Okay.
It's when Din picks up the Darksaber and puts it in his pocket. He holsters it again. Because at that point, Bo-Katan could have just kicked his ass. And she probably... Shout out to... I love that on International Women's Day, we get an episode where Bo-Katan is just whooping all the ass. And it was just like there was that tension there of I was like, because obviously she was wielding it way better than he was. He can wield that thing to save his life, literally,
yeah.
And it was just there was like a moment of tension where I was like, is she gonna do it now? Like, is she gonna while he's weak, is she gonna get him? And there was just that little moment of tension, but she was like, no, I'll take you to the mines. I was like, oh, whew.
Because she's a changed woman to a degree. I think that's part of it, and I will jump out and say that Bo-Katan grabbing the dark saber to begin with was my moment of the week, my action moment of the week. And she sees the dark saber laying on the ground. She's like, well, I could use that. Slices and dices better than, like you said, better than Din ever could. She really knows how to handle the dark saber. Maybe she should be the one with the dark saber for various reasons. But yeah, she made quick work of the beast. I loved watching her go to work in a way that Din failed and she didn't. I love that. But going on, I'll actually comment on what you just said. I also love that because there was definitely a lot of different ways that could go. Obviously, technically speaking, the Mando was beaten out of the saber, so her claiming it technically could be, well, I claimed it. I didn't, but she had it in her head. She's like, I didn't defeat him for it necessarily, but she could defeat it. She could defeat him right now, but she didn't because she has honor. She has a notion of family. There is something there beside her that she has to do this the right way. Nobility that she might not have always had, but definitely since Satine has passed, she's definitely turned a notion, and she has this kind of honor that's there. It's really deep seated in her. I think that's going to be something that plays out in the future. I can't wait to see how that goes.
Yeah. I also think I've seen this quite a bit of, like, a lot of people saying, oh, she took it from Din, so she's got, you have to die or yield,
right,
to take it. It's not a case of the 3-second rule applies and I drop it on the floor and I can pick it up and it's mine. Like, that's not how it works.
That's pretty funny. That's very funny.
So yeah, I feel like, but I do think, like, if Din did see her use it, which I think he did, I think that he was probably like, what the fuck am I doing with this thing?
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think it's going to come to a head at some point. Absolutely. All right, let's go up to our next segment. There, we got this one, of course, as always.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. Our favorite comic moments of the week, the things that made us laugh. And this had some moments in it for sure. Maddie, go ahead with your favorite comedy moment of the week.
I want to say Jawas because my favorite glove show is Tika the Jawa, and I love everything the Jawas do. But it's actually the moment where R5 doesn't want to get out of the ship, and Din just goes, "You don't have a choice," and presses the button. It just sends him down. That got a big laugh out of me.
I like that. Yeah, did not give him a choice. R5, a little cowardly. I like it. For me, honestly, it was not a specific beat, but it was just the whole overall beginning sequence. Peli's scam, as I called it. I love the fact when Peli gets the Rodian to pay. As soon as the Rodian leaves, she's kind of like, all right, come on and put him back. Make sure you paint him so it looks different.
Yeah.
You're like, what a con artist. And then at the end, go out there more. There's a lot to be made. Go get on a speeder. You can do it again.
Yes.
So good. It's so
and
good.
then she also scammed him because she was like, this astromech droid's made for adventure. And then, like, Din gets in the cockpit.
I hear you. Go.
So, yeah. It was like, I thought you said he was made for adventure. Yeah, what? I can't hear you. Bye.
Go. Peli, the con artist, she is the best, some of the scoundrels out there, so to speak. Yeah, so one of my favorite moments there of the week. My favorite funny moment of the week, I should say. All right, let's move on to our next segment. Parsecs.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Quite easily where we rank the episode on a scale of 1 to 11, because we always turn it up to 11 here on PLD Projects. Not 12, 11. So out of 11, where do you rank this episode?
11.
11. Wow. Perfect 11. Okay.
This was what should have been a episode before a finale in episode 2.
Wow. Okay. That's a big call there, my friend.
We got so much, like, even just seeing that shot, and we've seen it in the trailer, of just like Bo-Katan's ship flying in, and you see Sundari from above, and then you go into the mine, and they call it a mine. the mines, and like just see the ruins of Sundari. I was like, we're getting Sundari, Bo-Katan kicking ass, Din getting his ass kicked, Grogu using the Force, a fucking mythosaur, all in one episode. They just pretty much went, all right, everything you want, here you go. You can't complain now because we've given you everything you want.
Maddie, did you just use a Lord of the Rings reference?
I did.
I'm so proud of you. I'm not gonna lie. I had the whole time. I was like, every time I saw the title and everything else, all I could think of was the Mines of Moria the whole time. Absolutely, the Mines of Mandalore.
Even like the way when they look at it, it's like shaped into like the T of the helmet.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I did like it quite a bit. I do think it's almost like I want to keep this down because I feel like we're gonna get even better now because we're gonna start hurtling towards the where we're going. And I'm taken aback with where we were. I really thought this was going to take a couple episodes at least. I thought we weren't going to get to the mines, so at least. But I kind of thought we're going to go, okay, we're going to go get the piece for IG. We'd have to do an adventure to get the piece for IG, bring that back. The Angelarians have to fix them. I thought that's where we're going. So it's going to be like episode 5, maybe we'd get to the mines, maybe 6. Maybe that would be kind of towards the end. Here we are, we're done. So it's like, turned everything on its ear for me. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. So there's definitely some more setup in this, but there's also definitely some payoff with the Mythosaur. The Mythosaur opening that eye gets me going, and I can't wait to see what's going to go from there, to be honest with you. But 9.5 out of 11 for me. I love it. All right, let's move on then to our last overall segments before we catch up, as we call. This is Force Vision.
Premonitions?
This is quite simply what's happening next. It doesn't have to be necessarily next week. It could be by the end of the season. It could be 40 years from now. Something that we took from this episode and where is it going? And I got to say, man, I'm confused. Again, like I said, I thought I had it planned out in my head. Totally flipped it on its head for me. But I think now you said it best. It's going to be about the Darksaber eventually in Mandalore. I think Din's got to join up with Bo-Katan now that he kind of owes her, because Din has now bathed in the mine, so he's received his Mandalorian, mojo back, so to speak. So he's got to go back to the armorer, get his creed back. Mando Mojo, got his Mando Mojo back. But is he going to go with his crew, his creed, his initial family, or is he going to go with Bo-Katan and go with that side of things? So I'm excited to see where it's going to go, but I think we're going to have Din, and Din's going to push Bo-Katan because she saved him. She's going to push her to revitalize her schemes and kind of build her back up. And that's what we're going to see. And it's going to end up being a case where Din's going to have to choose between the armorer and that side and Bo-Katan and that side. And that's where I think some of the big to-dos are going to take place.
Yeah. What
about you?
I feel like we've had a massive plot point just put on us here. I don't think this is, and I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, Grogu's going to calm the Mythosaur like he did the Rancor." I don't think we're going to get to that yet. I think they're going to be like, "Oh shit, there's a Mythosaur. We need to get the fuck out of here." Maybe they'll come back for it at some point. I feel like now would be a good time for us to go the other way. Let's get some New Republic. Find out what Moff Gideon's up to, where he is. We know he's locked up somewhere. Get some stuff with Pershing. I would like for us to be like, okay, we've just had this massive bombshell dropped on us. Let's see what's going on over here, and then convene the 2 points together.
I like it. I like it quite a bit. Now, here's my asking. I'm going to ask a prediction from you. I'm going to predict that by season's end, we're going to have somebody riding that Mythosaur out and to spark the final episode, to spark the prophecy, et cetera, which Mandalorian is going to be riding the Mythosaur out.
Is Danny Trejo a Mandalorian?
It's always a good call. I don't believe he is. But
if there's one person to do it, it'd be Danny Trejo. I think that's a good question. I think it'd be Bo.
It's a big Bo. Okay. I'm got to be honest, because I can see arguments. Obviously, to me, the big three, it's either going to be Din, Grogu, or Bo. Because Grogu, it makes sense. Obviously, Din is the Mandalorian. So it would make sense if the leading point is him going to reunite his people. Sure. Grogu becoming a Mandalorian, choosing to be a Mandalorian instead of a Jedi is a big deal. Maybe this is what his purpose is in choosing to be a Mandalorian. Dave, rather. Sorry. And, but then also Bo, and this, it does seem like everything is set up to be Bo's season to a degree, and it's been her dream to bring everything together. She has a lot of redeeming to do. So I think you could go either way. I think Din could do it because she's the star. I think Bo would maybe support me, say, you know what, I wanted to do this, but I couldn't, so I need to support you who can. I think it could be Grogu, Dave, who could do it because that's what he's leading up to. I think it could be Bo and Din supports her. You know, Din's like, I'm the Mandalorian, I'm doing all this stuff, but really, Bo, it's up to you to redeem yourself and really lead the Mandalorians back into a better future. So either way, I could go with all. I'm gonna lean towards Bo. I'm gonna lean towards Bo because Din doesn't want it. Din doesn't want to lead. He just wants to be there.
I kind of also want to think Grogu just because we know Lucasfilm love to make money. How much merchandise could you sell of a mythosaur riding Grogu?
Yeah, he'd be unstoppable. That's the only problem. He'd be unstoppable. You couldn't stop him. But all right, we're going to wrap up with some of the last minute conversation about the episode. I think we want to bring up. I'll start off and say the themes of the episode to me this week are all about, and themes of the season are about family, about the family you grew up with, the family you're given, and the family that you choose to be with. Obviously, we have the Mandalorian. Din is going to the Mines of Mandalore to redeem himself in the eyes of his family, which is an important thing to him, even as Bo-Katan ridicules him for it. We also get to see Bo-Katan's side of family, the conversation between Din and Bo about her father, about her family, what it means to her growing up, what it meant to him, what's her creed, what it means to her. Grogu being the family member, saving his father by going to his quote unquote maybe sister at the time, and Bo-Katan to help him out that way. I think the themes of the Mandalorian are about finding your family. What means, because family doesn't necessarily have to be blood. It's about what family means to you. And I think Din is finding his family. And at the end of the day, it's going to be Grogu, Bo-Katan, and more in that ilk instead of the armorer and the people he grew up with. But I like that. I think that's where we're going to go with this. And I kind of like seeing what they're presenting to us. It's about loyalty. It's about dedication. It's about helping those in need. And that's what the show ends up being about. What about you? Anything last thing you want to say about that? Or
No, I think that's even if I did, I think that's a perfect point to end on. That's very well said. So yeah, I think that's a perfect point for us to.
Well, alrighty then. I appreciate that. Again, if it's your first time here, like it, subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you feel. Let us know what you think about the Mandalorian episode this week. Let us know what you think about the celebration panels, which one you're going to be going to. We're trying to get that modest goal of 500 subscribers. We are slowly making our way there. If you want to help out the podcast, please share. Get other people involved. Let your friends know, so to speak. You can also join us on Patreon, patreon.com/PLD projects, where I have a bunch of Patreons who have really helped me keep the lights on, so to speak. They really do help out. I really feel a great bit of they are generous, and I feel really grateful for them. Specifically, I want to throw out a few of them: Matthew Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, John Lestrina. Great Facebook chat going. We have a great time in there as well. You can find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. Find me every week on Holy Snokes, now twice a week, at least for the foreseeable future. Tomorrow, we'll be breaking down the Bad Batch. I wish we could stay on and talk about it now, but we're running late. I want to give the Bad Batch its due for sure. You can also find me on Class Action every other week with myself, Matty, and Richard Eric Jarvie. Too Many F422s on Film with PJ Campbell. Crown Jewels, A Journey Through Queen. And a couple other podcasts such as Review and The Harrisons are coming. I'm a busy man, and I try to keep myself busy. Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find me here twice a week for the foreseeable future, like you said, for Holy Snokes, every other week for Class Action with yourself, Mr. Richard Eric Jarvie, every Monday and Friday on the Wild Jones Podcast Network for the ONU MMA show, and my band Mourner, Mourner. Announcement, new song, April 7th, the Friday of Star Wars Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new song, The Axe Forgets, which is a quote and a name from an episode of Andor. Just a quick thing because we got to get out of here. I wrote this song after hearing that line, after hearing Skeen say the tree remembers, the axe forgets what the tree remembers. There was a lot going on in terms of the UK government misleading a lot of people at the time. And it kind of dawned on me that I have a talent and a voice and a platform to speak about change that should be happening. And that episode and Nemec's manifesto just sparked something in me. I will say this is not a happy song. This is a very angry song. And it was inspired by Star Wars. So you find your inspiration in many places, and that one line from Skiing. At first, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a lyric. And then I went deeper into the themes, and I was like, "This is exactly what's going on in the country right now. This is exactly what's going on in the world right now. I have a voice. I'm going to use it." So April 7th, The Axe Forgets, all streaming services. Make sure to check it out.
Good for you, my friend. I'm proud of you, and definitely use your words, your talents, the force of good throughout the world. So until next time, though, until tomorrow, we will see you guys tomorrow on Holy Snokes. Take care, my friends.
May the force be with you always.